for today, I've prepared something that I don't usually do, but I was really contemplating what am I gonna tell this audience? How am I going to really help them out? And I thought I'm gonna give you something that I would find valuable. So you're not gonna hear from me some, big inspirational talk about go and do a brand campaign and spend millions. You're not gonna hear about me like go do this channel, that channel. What I want you to take away from this session is how we at Careem think about growth, how we at Careem look at our numbers. And I've actually put a space background to inspire you to shoot to the moon, and how you can start doing growth the way Careem does it from whatever industry and at whatever level you have it. And these slides are courtesy of Furkan. I took a couple of them, so I always like to give credit to people who do good work. So what is growth hacking? And you've probably heard of this word a lot. You hear it in articles, and I'm just going to decompose a few things. It's not a magic formula. It's not a software. It's not a line of code that gets you millions, even though Airbnb did write a very good piece of code that helped them scrape. This is one of the most famous growth hacks in the world. They wrote a very famous script that pulled data in from Craigslist and allowed them to populate their website. So a piece of code can help you, but it's not that. And you won't get millions of downloads overnight. Growth hacking is about hard work, and there is no one size fits all. So what I'm going to teach you is how you can find your right size. So growth hacking is a cross-disciplinary approach, and it's a mixture of marketing, product engineering, and data analysis. And this is why, if you look at Careem, there is no CMO of Careem. We do not have a CMO, because for us, it's about growth hacking. And you need to find a process that is predictable, repeatable, and scalable. And I'm going to show you how you can do your own. So it all starts with a team. And essentially, this is how Careem set itself up for success. So you need, and this is quite critical, an independent model that reports to a VP of growth. And this model has essentially 3 verticals, which I'll be taking you through each of them and how to look at them. Acquisition, which is the people you get in. Engagement, those are the people that you have. And retention, those are the people you retain. And each of those different verticals have very different strategies. So for that, you need a designer. Design is super, super, super important. If a user does not understand your message, and I would say design and copy, they will not understand what you're selling. So you're going to just waste marketing dollars. You need an engineer to be able to create certain applications, because it's about product-driven growth. You want to create experiences that are not just ad-based, that are product-based. Let me give you some excellent examples. Referral campaigns, when you say, share this code, that's coded by an engineer. Other great examples are as well, sorry, let me just put my phone so you guys don't hear that. So engineers that code in referrals, but also Flywheel. And if you want some inspiration of the best in the world, the Chinese, so Meituan, Didi Chuxing, they are years ahead of anyone else. So they have a great, great product marketing. You need a data scientist, because your experience should be based on data. And finally, you need growth marketing. What is growth marketing? Growth marketing is not about beautiful brand campaigns. Growth marketing is about delivering that promise to the consumer. So it's much, much closer to product marketing. And why is this team super important? Because you need speed. Speed is success. At Careem, we have a motto: do today what can be done tomorrow. Every single thing you can do now as opposed to tomorrow, you're going to get that edge on your competitor. You're going to get that customer because you were first. So you really need to be fast. And so lean teams that are stuck together mean that there have been situations where I have launched campaigns across our 14 different countries in less than 8 hours. Because we had an opportunity, we wanted to send out something to all customers, 14 countries, 14 translations, 14 visuals, boom, done. So that's the thing, you need that speed and that agility. So it's a process. And essentially it's a wheel, like everything is always the same. And what's cool about this is you get into the rhythm. So once you start doing it, you know what you have to do, you know what comes next. So you don't even think about it. It's kind of like you get a muscle memory and you're on autopilot. The first are your KPIs, and I'm going to teach you how to look at your KPIs. You then experiment, simple A/B test with a control group. You learn and you analyze. And don't get too stuck on the data. Do inferences. Look at the data. What does it tell me? Okay, what can I do next? And this is where we call the prioritization, because prioritization lets you decide what do you keep and what do you let go. And at Careem, we say we launch fast. A lot of startups say they fail fast, so both terms are very valid. But it's about knowing which thing do I keep, what do I throw away, and what do I grow. And I will show you some of the things that you might want to prioritize so you can automate and scale. Then you ideate, and that's always our fun, the best part. It's you get everyone in a room, you do ideation exercises such as crazy eights. It's when you fold a piece of paper in eight, you've got 8 minutes to write as many ideas as possible. And you just get as many crazy ideas on the table, and then you see what you can run with. You really want your growth model to be as creative as possible. So many metrics. Let's start with the KPIs. Which ones really matter? And you really need to pick your KPI, the one that's relevant for you. I think Happy was mentioning that for him, it's the cost per first order. That's his golden metric. And what we're going to be looking at is what we call the North Star metric, which I'm going to explain to you a little bit and why it's super important. So is it your activation rate? That might be if you're in an early stage product. Is it your retention rate? So do you have a more mature product? Have you acquired most of the users you can acquire and you need to create a stable ecosystem? Is it your order per user? Cancellation rate, super important. Cost of acquisition, but of course your cost of first order, so your cost of transaction. And you want to be able to take these metrics so that you can build your own experiments. And they can be anything. Channel experiments, so Facebook, Google, Twitter, any channel matters. You just need to find the right one to you. And you want to know the fun thing is a channel might be different by gender and it can be different by country. Greatly, very great. It varies really quite substantially. Your content matters, the way you say things to people, your segment tests. Is it a high value user? Is it a low value user? Your user experience. Are people, the visibility, and of course your campaign dynamics. And I need you to start thinking in this analyze and learn. Every action you do needs to be trackable. And it might not always be that you can track it. So of course, if you do an offline billboard, it's going to be very hard, but you need to make an assumption. Do a critical mindset. I'm going to do something today. I'm going to spend $1 today. And I have a hypothesis of what this is going to look like. And then I'm going to look at my results. You would be surprised. I've worked for many companies before, Careem. You'd be surprised how many people just don't look at their results. It's common. I used to work for the Lego Group many years ago. We used to call it the after action review. So find your after action review and have the habit of doing it. And this will help you prioritize, and it will help you optimize, and it will help you find these winning experiments, because you are looking for what we call the golden nugget. What is that? What is that secret sauce, the silver bullet, that one thing that gives you that edge? Because guess what? Everyone else is doing app downloads. Guess what? Everyone else is saying, buy this product now. And especially in a market like ride hailing, which is a commoditized industry where there are so many competitors, it is really the ones who take that edge, who look for that incremental gain, who win the game. And we like to think we try to do it. Of course, you've prioritized. Now, to drive additional growth, you're going to automate and scale. And I'm going to show you some really good examples of things you can automate. So reactivation triggers are one of my favorites. You've got your new users, the people who come in, you've got your existing users, the people you keep. And then you've got this huge base, probably, if you guys are more mature companies, which are the ones who have churned, but you have a massive possibility of reactivating them. But depending if you get to our size or if you're even bigger, because I know some of the players are much, much bigger, you need to really prioritize whom I'm going to target. You can't just blanket text everyone saying, take a ride. You can't just blanket promo. You need to prioritize by segment, by probability, and tweak that. And if you've got anything over 1 million as a base, arbitrary number. You cannot do that manually. So you need the power of machine learning and the power of automation triggers to be able to get that extra juice. So what is growth? First, you're going to find your North Star metric, and I'm going to literally take you step by step on how we do it. And Sean Ellis, this is the guy who coined the word North Star, he describes it as the single metric that best captures the core value that your product delivers to customers. It's one number. You do not have two North Stars. There's only one North Star in the sky. You will only have one North Star in your company. So at Careem, for example, for many years, so if you're all familiar, you now know that we've moved into a super app ecosystem, but for many years we were a ride-hailing only company. So for us, then our North Star was number of trips. For Airbnb, their North Star is number of nights booked. For Facebook, their North Star is daily active users. And for WhatsApp, it's number of messages. So my first challenge to you is, what's your North Star? And why does that number matter to you more than all numbers? So let's dig in. For this exercise, I'm going to keep it super high level, and I'm going to take a number just like, imagine if my North Star was number of orders. It's not, but imagine. You have a growth equation, and mine is this hypothetical example, it's number of orders, but yours could be anything else. Maybe if you're a flower shop, number of flowers delivered. You need to decompose your growth equation. And your growth equation is what's going to tell you every single month how much money you need to spend, what you need to invest in, and what you need to focus, irrespective of what channel you do it in. It gives you that benchmark and that target. So what is number of orders? Number of orders has two components. How many people do I have and how many orders they do? Not very difficult. But, and this is where it gets really exciting, you can dig into that number and you can start decomposing, and this tells you where to prioritize your growth efforts. So your monthly active user, your MAU, has three verticals to it. MAU, monthly active users, are the new people you got, like I've mentioned before, the people you have, and the people you reactivated. And these three segments are very, very different. And this is why you need to always look at this number with those three eyes. Why? Because new users are new to your product. They don't understand it that well. They probably don't consume as much. Existing users, because they keep coming back, they're loyal. Odds are they're much higher frequency and they spend a lot more money. And reactivated users are a little bit more fickle. They might use you or others, or they might just have given it a pause. So you need to understand what your contribution is coming from each of those verticals. And then each of those verticals is multiplied by their individual OPU, their orders. So if we deep dive even further, you can see that your number of orders is your new users multiplied by their orders, your retained users multiplied by their orders, and your reactivated users multiplied by their orders. It's an average order number. And this number of orders gives you your growth star between acquisition and activation, retention and reactivation. So the reason I wanted you to look at your North Star, by having one North Star, you've essentially covered your whole funnel. It's that easy. You don't need tons of KPIs. You need numbers that are clear to your business and help you save time in decision making. Because if you are fast growing, you need to remove decision fatigue. So decision fatigue is it's a behavioral science concept. And the more decisions you have to make, the harder they become. This is, for example, why judges grade papers, why judges give harsher sentences at the end of the day. Teachers will grade more harshly papers at the end of the stack. And why Obama used the same suit every single day. So you really want to think, let me remove my decision-making fatigue. Let me have one number and let me understand how that number works. So now we have our growth equation. Let's define our KPIs because it should be a no-brainer. Acquisition. Acquisition and activation come together because you acquire users and you have to look at the funnel for acquisition and activation as a component. In a mobile environment, you've got your installs. Well, actually, it starts with your App Store views, your installs, the conversion to signed up users, signed up to first transaction. So there's a lot of little nitty gritty steps. And you want to be able to track all of those micro conversions. So how many installs, how many activations, how much was that cost per first order? You can then have loads of little numbers in the middle that will help you decompose and create KPIs that drive up to this North Star. For retention, it's a little bit simpler because you usually do it on a 30-day basis and you look at your retention rate. Your retention rate is the percentage of users active in the next period from the previous period. So you take your full base from the previous period and you see how many of them are still with you today. And really good products have super high retention rates. And why is your retention rate so important? Because a high retention rate means that you spend less money acquiring for the deficit. Very few companies have 100% retention rate. Most of them will have anything from 30% to 70%. So say you have a retention rate of 70%, those 30% users, if you don't acquire them again, you're going to be shrinking, not growing. So for you to maintain your base every month, you need to make up for the shortfall. And for you to grow, you need to add people on top of that. See how difficult that is? Yeah, you need to know your math. And then finally, reactivation. I love reactivation. I think it's one of the most underutilized channels. And there are so many things you can do. So I've given you a couple of tips and tricks and ideas. And you want to take the same principles as engaged users, but you need to be a little bit more aggressive because they've forgotten you. They don't love you as much as a brand. So this first part, summary of KPIs. We derived our KPI to focus by reverse engineering the equation for the North Star. Super simple. Acquisition and activation KPIs, install, sign-up rate, activation rates, cost per order, orders per user, then your retention rate, pretty much same, and reactivation rate KPIs, pretty much the same. So why am I talking about all of this? Because finally I show you your funnel. You were probably expecting me to start with this, but no, I made you do the homework. I made you learn the math. So you want to go through your funnel. And why are your metrics super important? Sanjay, how am I on time? How much more do I have?
You have another 5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes. I want to leave some time for questions, so I'll go through this quickly. But, and this is really what I want you to focus on, is growth with acquisition is not sustainable. You can't just do it with acquisition, guys. The right question you need to ask as a business is, how do we get better at keeping the users we have? So remember that little equation problem I told you? If you have a base and you lose a percentage of it, you have to acquire those to keep your same level. And then to grow, you need people on top. So it's really expensive. So why is retention king? And it is the king of all metrics. More retained users lead for more referral. They bring in more users. They are just a super high quality user. They drive more organic users. They enable a higher LTV, and they make your business a lot leaner. So what can you do to get your retention as a super metric? The first recommendation is start with simple churn prediction models. You need to identify which of your customers are at point or at risk of churning. So what is their inflection point? So make a couple of probability models and make sure that those people are being taken care of. Maybe you have Care give them a call. Maybe you send them a special email. Maybe you just put them on a product marketing cycle. I love product marketing cycles. I do them all the time. Have a couple of triggers there. Triggers are your best friend. Build bad experience campaigns. For ride hailing, for example, did we have a cancellation? Did the driver take too long? Did the user call in to complain? Always take your bad experiences super seriously. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you say anything on LinkedIn, Mudassar will be our CEO of Careem. He will personally respond because Careem is ultra customer centric. Of course, when you grow as much as we have, sometimes it's hard, but we really do we're customer crazy. Look for product growth and product improvements. I'll give you some ideas on that. build lock-in products. I don't know sure if you're familiar with Careem packages, but stuff that creates a subscription that people commit to, that they lock in, that also helps with your retention. And finally, loyalty programs, no brainer, but do them right. Otherwise, people don't use them. If they churn, you build a reactivation engine, you target based on the reactivation, you make custom promos, you reintroduce new products to see if you can find a product market fit and a PMF. And digital is super good also with reactivation, brand awareness, really cool stuff, reintroduce them to the brand. You have to think of them as a re-education program. And measure every step. You need to identify the bottlenecks. These are some arbitrary numbers I just put up to show you. Activation. Imagine you're having a problem from acquisition to activation. Ask yourself the question, is my OTP failing? Do I need to request a customer email at this point? Can I give them can they log in for free and only ask for it at the end? Really be critical about the steps you're forcing customers to pay. I read an article the other day. There was something like the big difference between HSBC and Revolut was that HSBC makes you do 50 steps to sign in and to sign up, whereas Revolut just does 5 or something crazy like that. So yes, make it super lean. Don't just collect customer information because you want it. Do what's right for your customer. And finally, how do we decide if it actually works? Do A/B tests. Super simple. Always have a 10% control group. This will tell you what you should invest more time on and less time on. It's very, very easy to do. Hard to do on digital. There are ways, but it's very easy to do on your retained and reactivated base. Just hire somebody who knows how to do it if you don't know how, or just Google it. You can do it. So what did you learn? I hope you walk away with 3 things. The first is that growth hacking is not a magic formula, but a process. The second is you need your North Star. So find yours, go home, that is your homework. And third, you need a lean funnel to maximize your returns.